So I was hoping I'd get to be the first person today to talk about zombies, but Adrian beat me to it. But it was a great talk, and I'm happy to be coupled with a zombie connection with you, Adrian. So the economic understanding of the form, function, and scale of urban environments has long been largely grounded in supply and demand dynamics that preface the production and consumption of real goods and services, whether they're physical or immaterial. So the knowledge economy produces knowledge, the creative economy, the creative economy utilizes creativity to produce creative outcomes. But starting in the 1980s, finance capitalism has marched to unprecedented prominence. And this mode of capitalism, in which profit is pursued through the exchange of financial instruments, abstract instruments themselves, I don't know why that keeps changing, is challenging earlier conceptualizations of the city. So what I call asset urbanism is a kind of socio-spatial avatar of financial capitalism. And asset urbanism occurs when the spaces of the city start to function more and more as financial investment assets, to the point of eclipsing their many other possible functions. So we know that buildings and spaces within cities have existed within markets for a time immemorial, like going far, far back to at least ancient Rome. So buildings for a long time have been subject to speculation and trade within real estate markets. But finance capitalism has intensified this asset investment role. Indeed, the rise of a truly global real estate market and the sheer volume of money moving through it is so recent that we have not fully grasped the ramifications. But the consequences of asset urbanism are dramatic. From the subprime mortgage crisis to the 11 million vacant homes now in Europe, the built environment being treated first and foremost as an investment vehicle is changing its physical form and social life. So for the last few years, I have a research team that's funded by the Government of Canada, and we've sort of been working as an architectural and urbanist detective squad, going around the world to the hotspots of asset urbanism. So far we've scoured Ireland and we've scoured Spain, and we're currently in the process of extending our research into the United States. So we document through our work asset urbanism through analytical drawing and mapping, on-the-ground imagery, and aerial photography through the use of drones. All the while making connections with economic and financial information. So we spend a lot of time interviewing real estate market specialists, economists, urban planners, architects, political figures while we're doing this on-the-ground documentation. And I think one of my team members, I think, is sitting up there, Lawrence Vass, who's a student here at SALA, and he's been an invaluable member of the team. So asset urbanism has emerged in relation to shifts to the scope, scale, and tactics of global investment capital. One simple yet profound shift is the exponential increase of the world's collective savings, amassing into what some observers call the giant pool of money. So it took about 150 years of capitalism to get to a certain level of world savings, and then that doubled since the year 2000. So there's this unprecedented amount of fixed income securities that have been amassed by insurance funds, pension funds, and sovereign wealth funds. So the relevance for this, for architecture in the city, is that vastly more money is funneling into the built environment and its newly popular financial instruments. And this can be witnessed in such things by the growth of mortgage-backed securities. But mortgage-backed securities are just one of many, many examples that demonstrate how financial markets are increasingly interconnected with real estate markets, in a trend that people have started to describe as the financialization of non-financial domains. So Saskia Sassen uses that sort of phrase. Now, historically, architectural and urban space has most often been evaluated in terms of its use value, or in other words, how it supports everyday human activity. But as space is financialized, use value becomes less and less important. So it's now common for certain neighborhoods in cities around the world to have high rates of vacancy as units sit empty as investment properties. And this is not only a phenomenon that you can find in London, New York, and Vancouver. When you look for this phenomenon, you can actually find it in at least 40 cities and I think even more around the world. So this widespread speculation-based vacancy challenges how we understand density and plan for things like provision of public services. Also, entirely new physical building forms have emerged to cater to a swelling number of ultra-wealthy investors, such as right here, iceberg homes, so-called iceberg homes, that extend existing London mansions deep into the earth because zoning laws prohibit such additions above ground. Or in Manhattan, where a new crop of residential towers rising so tall and so thin that they were structurally unthinkable until only recently. Their top units selling for sums like $90 million to numbered companies, only to likely sit empty as investments. It's useful to note that condominium itself is a relatively new invention in the kind of English-speaking world. And I think astute observers have kind of explored how it itself as a legal instrument is something that lubricates investment function of three-dimensional space and its fungibility, its ease of being traded. So in Ireland, where we've spent a lot of time, I mean, it's a country where it became common for ordinary people to own 3 or 4 homes. So now roughly 300,000 units of housing sit empty in what the Irish call ghost estates. This haunted landscape enabled through an influx of Northern European lending capital. For children up to the age of 8, the stark juxtapositions between complete and incomplete buildings are completely normal. This kind of strange combination of finished structures alongside instant ruins, the only built environment they have ever known. The Irish call this a zombie hotel. Oversized and strangely located, it can only be understood as the result of a tax regulation that allows developers to shelter income made from the selling of speculative housing by building hotels. This is architecture as complete financial device. Spain has completely remade itself along the lines of asset urbanism, as seen here. Its entire Mediterranean coast is now essentially one super long linear city, produced in no small part, I should say, as a thing to supply Northern Europeans with vacation properties to invest in. And in places like Cesena, outside of Madrid, giant housing developments maximize the number of saleable units while minimizing construction cost, resulting in an almost inhumane space of speculation. This is urbanism as investment product, not urbanism for living. Now, while Ireland and Spain present powerful examples of asset urbanism, they pale in comparison to China, where there are reported to be as many as 50 million empty but sold units of housing, most of them purchased as surrogates for stock equities. And this is some decisions and buying practices that are explicitly described and understood as surrogates for the stock market. So I'm going to end here. So look, when taken collectively, these phenomena demonstrate how asset urbanism produces a surreal global landscape where overbuilding is normalized, growth and decay are collapsed upon each other, and market volatility destabilizes communities in newly intensified manners. So considering the next 50 years of urbanization, we might do well to pay close attention to the ghosts and zombies within our midst right now when inventing the discourse and tools of the future. Thank you.